Right off the top, I want to ask you guys, do you want the Browns to tank? Do you want them to lose the last 2 games of the season, or will you be happy if they beat the Dolphins or the Ravens in Week 18? Tanking always sounds super fun, but go ask the Texans about it. They got C.J. Stroud because they were bad at tanking, so it's not always a simple one-to-one. Welcome on into the Cleveland Browns Report by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Matthew Peterson. On today's episode, I want to talk a little bit about this game, but ultimately, we are all just collectively ready for the season to be over, and it's almost like a chore or a burden. It's like, all right, every Sunday, here we go, round 2, round 3, round 15 or 16. We have to watch another Browns game. But I want to talk about Cleveland's path to the number 1 overall draft pick, and then we'll talk about Kevin Stefanski and Myles Garrett. But here's how things stand right now going into Monday Night Football with the Saints and Packers not being in contention with the number 1 pick. So the Browns currently have pick number 5. There are 6 teams tied at 3 and 12. The tiebreaker is strength of schedule. The easier your schedule is, the earlier you pick, right? If 2 teams finish with 3 wins, but 1 team had a very easy schedule, then they are worse than the team with the worst schedule. So if you are looking for a secondary level for rooting guide, you want the teams the Browns played to lose games so the Browns' strength of schedule goes down, and then they have maybe the 4th or 3rd pick. But this is currently the draft order, top 5, so it's a logjam at 3 and 12, but there will be some clearing of traffic in a little bit, and I'll tell you why. Here's how the rest of the top 10 looks, by the way. I talked about the Saints a moment ago. They're picking number 10, so even if they were to lose, they're not going to fall down to 9, 8, or 7 as they have 1 more win than Panthers, Jets, and Bears. Now, the Browns have 2 games remaining. They got Week 17 home against Miami, which on paper I wouldn't say is great for the Browns because there's no game on paper they look good in, but Tua Tagovailoa and the Dolphins traveling to Northeast Ohio right after Christmas is probably not an ideal time for them, but I feel like if there's a game where the Dolphins kind of get on track when it comes to winning in cold temperatures, it would be this game because why not, right? The Browns lost to the Saints, remember, a few years ago when their playoff hopes were hanging on by a thread. So don't look at this as, oh, Miami coming to Cleveland in December, the Browns are going to dominate. No, I wouldn't be shocked if the Dolphins go, hey, let's exercise our cold weather demons today against the Browns because they are a great trampoline to jump off of. And then week 18, they close it out in Baltimore against the Ravens, who will likely have something to play for. I don't think there's a chance where they come out or go into that game with no chance to move up or down in the seeding. So that's the Browns schedule. We'll look at the other team schedules in just a moment. ESPN gave out some draft odds, though. The Browns have a 4.7% chance of picking number 1 overall. That currently belongs to the New York Giants. They are an abysmal team. They just lost to the Falcons 34-7. I don't see a world where the Giants win another game. So for me, the number 1 overall pick is 90, I guess, like 6% chance locked up to be the New York Giants, but I'd put it closer to 99. But let's talk about what we should be rooting for if you are in the mindset of, hey, let's get as close to number 1 as possible. So we'll start with Week 17. You got the Patriots hosting the Chargers. Maybe the Chargers on a cross-country trip playing from LA to Foxborough. Come out a little sleepy. New England did jump on Buffalo early on Sunday, so if the Patriots win that game, they jump up to 4 wins, and the Browns move up 1 spot closer to number 1 overall. I doubt the Giants win, but it's in our best interest for the Giants to win. Jags-Titans. This is where it gets very interesting, though. You have 2, 3, and 12 teams playing. One of them is going to win. So whoever wins improves to 4 wins, and then the Browns automatically go from picking 5 to at least picking number 4 if they were to lose to the Miami Dolphins, which, if I'm being honest, I believe the Dolphins are going to win this game. So this is going to be a big game here, and we are rooting for the Titans, and I'll tell you why, because in Week 18, the Jags host the Indianapolis Colts. The Jags have kind of had the Colts' number. So in a perfect world, the Titans win in Week 17, They're up to 4 wins. And then the Jags win in week 18, and they are up to 4 wins. Or you can spin zone it this way. Let's say the Jags win in week 17. The Titans go into week 18, and there's a chance the Houston Texans could have nothing to play for. They have already sewn up the division. They're kind of almost locked into that 4 seed because I don't believe they're going to catch the they're not going to catch the Steelers or the Ravens at the 3 seed. So there's a chance that the Texans could have nothing to play for, kind of like the Browns in week 18 last year. And so maybe Houston sits all their starters. So you want the Jags to win in week 17, knowing the Titans are going to win in week 18 against a Texans team with all their backups playing. And now you have 2 teams right there with 4 wins. And the Browns go from picking 5 all the way to picking 3 just based off the record alone. Also, Bills may have nothing to play for in week 18, so this could be another opportunity for the Patriots at home to beat Buffalo. The Giants are not going to beat the Eagles, even if Kenny Pickett's playing. And if the Ravens have anything to play for, Lamar is going to beat the crap out of the Browns. Let's just be honest. So in my perfect world, in my dream here, with some level of realism, the Browns finish with a pick 1 or 2. I mean, at this point, sure, a win would be nice against the Ravens, especially if it could kind of spoil their season, and I wouldn't hate it in the moment because it always sounds super fun to tank, but we keep seeing the Browns, the Jets, and the Jags continue to pick top 5 year after year after year, and things don't get better. So tanking is not this, end-all, be-all way out that we like to think it is. But if they were to finish with pick 1 or 2, I doubt it's going to be 1, so let's just talk about 2, trade it. Trade the pick. The Las Vegas Raiders desperately want Shedeur Sanders. Their win over the Jags on Sunday was costly. So here's the plan. Nathan, for you. The Giants pick number 1, and they take Cam Ward because Dion is not going to let Shedeur go play in New York. Then the Raiders overpay for pick number 2. And the Browns get the haul that all of you somewhat want them to get from Myles Garrett, and they keep Garrett, and they still get a boatload of draft picks, and they don't take a quarterback because I don't think there is a quarterback in this draft class that's going to save the Cleveland Browns' future, and they just get a bunch of quality football players that can help out a reeling defense and an aging offensive line, and then they go bridge quarterback for 2025, and I would not be shocked if Jimmy Haslam meddles in 2026 and decides we're taking Arch Manning, we're taking my sweet prince from Tennessee, Nico Iamaleava, just a possibility. Next up on the show, I want to talk about Kevin Stefanski's seat possibly warming up, along with some Myles Garrett trade chatter out there. So before we get to all that good stuff, I do want to give a big shout out to our friends over at Z Biotics. Anyone who may not bounce back after a night of drinking as well should probably listen up. Let's face it, when going out, I have a choice to make. I can either have a great night or a great next day. That is until I found Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol. Pre-Alcohol is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to drink this probiotic before drinking alcohol, drink responsibly, and get a good night's sleep to feel your best tomorrow. So stay in the loop and go to zbiotics.com/chatsports or scan the QR code on screen right now to get 15% off your first order when you use code CHATSPORTS at checkout. From Thanksgiving feast to New Year's Eve celebrations, this holiday season is packed with events. But don't let the festivities leave you feeling less than merry. Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic can help you savor the night and seize the next day. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/chatsports and use the code CHATSPORTS at checkout for 15% off. Thank you, Z-Biotics, for sponsoring this episode and our good times. So I want to open up by talking about Stefanski, and then we'll talk about Garrett. Is Kevin Stefanski back on the hot seat? Remember when they beat the Steelers? And everyone's like, man, Stefanski just kind of saved his job for next year because there was a lot of chatter that they lost that game. Home, primetime, national television against the Steelers. A change could be made. And, well, Fast forward a few weeks later, Jameis is on the bench, third string, and Stefanski is somewhat on the hot seat. Personally, I expect Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski to return. Having said that, when you finish a season with 3 wins, feelings can change. Minds can change. Owners are impulsive, especially Jimmy Haslam. Now, I think he has learned his lesson from the constant head coaching carousel, and that's probably what's going to keep Stefanski and Berry here, is there will be their ability to tell Haslam, this season went down the drain for a handful of reasons that were somewhat out of our control. You may not like that, but I think they're going to say there were a lot of injuries, and that's true. Deshaun Watson and the quarterback position were a failure, and hey, that's our fault for making the trade happen. But we've also shown you we can win with other quarterbacks, right? Went to the playoffs with Joe Flacco, Baker Mayfield in year 3. So I think they'll kind of use that as evidence of give us another shot because you've seen us make the playoffs twice, and we can kind of get this thing turned around in a quick jiffy. So I expect Stefanski and Berry to return. Do I want them to return? Yes. This is a polarizing question, but if given the choice, I would like to see them return. A big reason why, especially for Stefanski, is, and people don't usually like this logic, but I do think it's fair logic to use right now. Who are you going to get that's better? The Browns' head coaching job opens up, and it stacks up with a couple other head coaching gigs. How appealing is the job where you have to take on Deshaun Watson, his $171 million cap hit remaining? Probably not very appealing. So I'm not convinced you're going to find a better head coach. And I know the quick answer is everyone's screaming right now, what about Vrabel? What about Vrabel? If I'm Vrabel, you've got the Raiders, Las Vegas, Tom Brady connection, top draft pick. If you can get Shador, which I know the Browns have a top draft pick too, but it doesn't seem like they're going to go quarterback. Or the Bears, Caleb Williams, big market city. I think those are places Vrabel would prefer to end up. That's a cold hard truth and a tough pill to swallow, but that's just my honest opinion. So I don't think the Browns are going to be a very attractive destination. I don't think they're going to get the number one person at the top of their head coaching search. So for that reason, along with we have seen a proven track record of success with Berry and Stefanski, I'm willing to let this season be a, hey, it's a big bad mulligan. And usually a mulligan is like for a 6 or 7 win season, and this is a double worse, but I'm willing to forward them and toss them a lifeline and go, you get 2025 to turn it around. Next thing I want to talk about is Myles Garrett. We did a video about this from my hotel room on Saturday after Garrett made some very detailed comments about how he wants a plan for the Browns to get back on track and for them to show him the plan, and someone wants to be a part of the plan for the quarterback and how he's not interested in entering a rebuild. And the more I think about it, the more I just go, kudos to Garrett. He said the quiet part out loud. And in a time where players continue to have a larger and bigger voice, I'm not surprised that 29-year-old Myles Garrett, who is, in the midst of the prime of his career, 5th straight season with 12 or more sacks, just became the youngest player in NFL history to reach 100 sacks, goes, yeah, I was a part of a 1-win team for my first 2 years here. I'm not interested in doing that again. Now, I am in full belief that the Browns will give him a plan. Whether or not he likes that plan, I can't tell you. But they are going to have a plan, right? We're talking about a Harvard and a Penn guy and Paul DePodesta. Like, they may not have made great decisions, but they always have a plan. Maybe it's a bad plan, but there are a lot of teams who go into a season with no plan. And that's not the Browns. So you can pick your poison, having a plan but it being a bad plan or having no plan at all. Like the Bears, for example, are a team with no plan going into this year. Matt Eberflus was not a good head coach. They brought him back, and it quickly fizzled out. They fired their offensive coordinator halfway through the season. They fired him. They made a lot of roster moves. Like, that's a team with no plan. The Browns had a plan. It just didn't work. So I'm expecting the Browns to have a plan for Garrett, and if he likes that plan, then he's going to be here. If he doesn't like the plan, then we're going to learn a lot about Myles. And I don't want to start getting pre-mad, but I think I speak for all of us when I say I want Garrett to stay. So would you be open to trading Garrett? This was a non-starter for, a long, long time. But if you said to me, hey, I want to talk to you about trading Myles Garrett, I wouldn't laugh you out the room. I think when you have a 3-win team, you have to consider possibilities. Like, that's unfortunately the stage we're at right now. So would you be open to just discussing the idea of trading what I believe is going to be the greatest player in franchise history? Before we sign off, I just want to show some love to the Brown and Orange Club. For everyone else that also tuned in for our watch party yesterday, thank you guys so much. I know it was a unique setup and not our usual watch party, but I really appreciate everyone's patience and understanding, and I hope you guys had a good time because the Browns game really wasn't all that exciting for us, but hopefully you enjoy watching it here at the Browns Report by Chat Sports. That's going to do it for us on today's episode. Enjoy your Christmas and the rest of your holidays, and I'll see you guys throughout the week.